You know what scares me the most? Right now, in the United States alone, more than 6 million people are living with Alzheimer's disease. And the truth is, that number is climbing every single year. But here's something that might surprise you. New research suggests there may be a simple vitamin, one that many of us already know about, that could lower the risk of Alzheimer's by as much as 40%. And the best part? It's affordable, it's natural, and it's something you can start paying attention to today. Now, before we dive into this life-changing information, let me pause for just a second. If you're new here, welcome. This is the place where we talk about science-backed, natural solutions to protect your brain, your heart, your energy, and your independence as you age. If that sounds like the kind of support you need in your life right now, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. Because every week I share practical tips that can truly make a difference in how you feel. Today, tomorrow, and even 20 years from now. Alright, let's get back to this vitamin that could play a powerful role in protecting your brain. I'm talking about vitamin D. And if you're already wondering, wait a minute, isn't that just the sunshine vitamin for my bones? Well, that's exactly what most people think. But the more scientists study vitamin D, the more they realize it's not just about bones. It's about your immune system, your mood, your heart, and yes, your brain. And here's the headline that got the medical community buzzing. A study that followed over 12,000 seniors, average age 71, found something remarkable. Among those who took vitamin D supplements, whether vitamin D2, D3, or vitamin D combined with calcium, there was a 40% lower risk of developing dementia over the next decade compared to those who didn't take it. That's not a tiny difference. That's nearly cutting the risk in half. Think about that for a second. If you gathered 10 of your friends or family members over the age of 65, and all of you had the same risk of developing dementia, taking vitamin D could mean that 4 of you might avoid this devastating disease altogether. Isn't that a stunning thought? And it gets even more interesting. Another report showed that after just 5 years, over 83% of people taking vitamin D were still alive and free of dementia, compared to just 68% in the group that didn't take it. When researchers adjusted for all the other factors, like age, weight, and other health conditions, the difference still pointed to a strong protective effect. Now, of course, we need to pause here and be honest. These were observational studies. That means scientists observed people over time and looked at associations, but they didn't give one group vitamin D and the other a placebo in a tightly controlled clinical trial. So while the data is compelling, it doesn't prove cause and effect. Still, when you see results this strong, and when you combine them with what we know about how vitamin D works in the brain, the picture gets very encouraging. So let's talk about the how. Why would vitamin D have anything to do with Alzheimer's or dementia in the first place? Scientists have a few theories. One is that vitamin D helps the brain clear out beta-amyloid plaques. These are sticky protein clumps that build up in the brain and are one of the hallmarks of Alzheimer's disease. In lab studies, vitamin D actually seems to stimulate processes that help sweep those plaques away, like a gentle cleaning crew for your brain cells. Another explanation is inflammation. Chronic, low-grade inflammation is one of the drivers not just of Alzheimer's, but of almost every age-related disease. Diabetes, heart disease, arthritis, you name it. Vitamin D has strong anti-inflammatory properties. It helps regulate your immune system so that it doesn't stay stuck in overdrive, attacking healthy tissues or creating the kind of toxic environment that damages brain cells over time. And there's more. Vitamin D also plays a role in neurotransmitters, those chemical messengers that let brain cells talk to each other. Without healthy neurotransmitter activity, memory and learning become much harder. Low vitamin D levels have been linked to mood disorders, depression, and slower thinking. So it makes sense that keeping levels up could support sharper, more resilient brain function as we age. Now here's a detail that really caught my attention, and I think you'll find it important too. The benefits of vitamin D were stronger in women than in men. In fact, some reports showed up to a 49% lower risk of dementia in women who maintained healthy vitamin D levels. For women, especially after menopause when so many changes are already happening in our bodies, this could be a game changer. But the story wasn't the same for everyone. For people who already had mild cognitive impairment, that's when memory problems are starting but not yet full-blown dementia, the effect was smaller, around a 33% reduction. And for people carrying a certain gene, called ApoE4, which increases the risk of Alzheimer's, the benefits of vitamin D weren't as strong. That doesn't mean it isn't worth paying attention to. It just means that vitamin D is one piece of the puzzle, not the entire solution. And maybe you're wondering, okay, so should I just start swallowing vitamin D pills by the handful? Not so fast. The truth is, more isn't always better. With vitamin D, what really matters is balance. Too little leaves you vulnerable. Too much can cause problems like kidney stones or calcium buildup. That's why most experts suggest aiming for blood levels that are in the healthy range. Not sky high, not deficient. So how do you know if you're low in vitamin D? Here's where it gets tricky. Many of us don't have obvious symptoms, even if our levels are low. But there are some clues. Do you spend very little time in the sun? Do you use sunscreen every day, which protects your skin but also blocks vitamin D production? Are you over 60, when the skin naturally makes less vitamin D from sunlight? Do you have darker skin, which naturally filters more UV rays? Do you live in a northern climate where winters are long and gray? If you answered yes to any of these, chances are you could be low. Blood tests are the only real way to know your exact level. But for most older adults, supplementing with a moderate dose, often between 800 and 2000 IU per day, sometimes more if prescribed, can make a safe difference. And of course, you can also get vitamin D naturally from food. Fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, and sardines are good sources. Egg yolks, fortified dairy products, and even mushrooms exposed to sunlight contain some as well. But here's the thing. It's very difficult to get enough vitamin D from food alone, especially if you're already low. That's why supplements are so widely recommended, especially for seniors. It's not about replacing food, but about filling in the gap that modern lifestyles and aging bodies create. Now, let's circle back to the bigger picture. Vitamin D looks promising. The data suggests a 40% lower risk of dementia, especially for women. The science explains why that might be happening. By reducing inflammation, supporting neurotransmitters, and clearing plaques. But remember, vitamin D is not a magic bullet. It's part of a toolkit. So what else is in that toolkit? Diets rich in colorful vegetables, omega-3 fats, berries, and olive oil have been linked to better brain health. Exercise, especially strength training and aerobic movement, improves blood flow to the brain. Sleep, deep, restorative sleep, helps the brain wash out toxins each night. Social engagement and learning new things keep your neurons firing and your connections strong. And of course, managing stress is critical because cortisol, that stress hormone, can actually shrink parts of the brain involved in memory if it stays too high for too long. When you put all of these together, vitamin D, smart food choices, movement, rest, learning, and connection, you build a fortress around your brain. You don't just wait for decline. You actively create resilience. And that's the most empowering message of all. Now, before we wrap up, let me remind you, if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do it now. Staying connected here means you'll never miss the kind of information that could change your life, or the life of someone you love. And speaking of that, if today's video helped you understand the protective role of vitamin D, you'll want to stick around for the next one. Because if there's one thing more important than prevention, it's early detection. Did you know that Alzheimer's disease can start leaving silent signs in the brain as much as 20 years before diagnosis? That's what we'll uncover next. What those hidden signs are, and how to spot them before it's too late. Trust me, you won't want to miss it.